Well, I figured we may as well talk LJL, and Hina, you might have some more context for stuff. So, actually, Hina, I mean, if you want, you can hop on call if you want to chat about some LJL stuff. There we go. So this is Hina. Hina does stuff for J Esport Hub, which is another great page as well. So if you want to follow up on Japanese like esportsy stuff, I really suggest following J Esport Hub on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it, and Hina on Twitter as well. Lonely Hikikomori is very, very talented at what they do. Effectively, folks, the news today is if I go and
Oh, by the way, you can have it up in English as well. If you click the language thing and put English SG, like in the Singaporean version, it's already after English. And
it's English OS. Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, we can go to that. Okay.
But this is very interesting because, like, it's about Japan. Like, if you read the Japanese version, there are translation errors. Like, it's very obvious that English was written. Like, the original one was the English.
And so they didn't initially write it in Japanese, even though it is about the Japanese region.
In the Japanese one, there are translation errors or like stuff that like don't make sense in Japanese.
Right.
It's like when you read it in English and you try to like translate in your head how it should translate it in Japanese, then it makes kind of sense. But it's like very, very obvious that yes, it was originally in English. It's like the very first, or where is it? Like the just above the roadmap kind of thing where it says LJL players will also now be considered. There's still section LJL players will also now be considered residents of the PCS, which means they can join any team within the PCS ecosystem without being considered. And here it is. However, LJL teams will still require to have at least 3 Japanese players on the roster.
So
and in English.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the thing. In English or like in Japanese, it is translated as a Nihonjin, which is that means Japanese like citizens.
Japanese
Japan,
people,
like,
yeah. That's not Japanese resident, that's Japanese nationals, which is not how it... I'm going to assume that the English is correct because that's the way it works in every other region.
No, but that's the thing. In Japanese, it was translated as... Like in Japanese, it was translated as like Japanese citizens, but it also was like... In English, like in Japanese, the sentence was like continuing how it was so far. They will still be required to have 3 Japanese players. So I assume they mean LJL residents, not Japanese players. But it's like sort of those things. When
the way that the way that league globally works is through that. Yeah, it's through residency rather than nationality. Yeah.
Yeah, just it's kind of weird that like they just translate it. But it's on the other hand, I mean, we can get into. I'm not sure how much you know about like the decision. I know it from actually Valorant folks.
About this decision?
Yeah.
I don't know much of it from like from a team owner standpoint. I obviously know how it's affected some of the players and when they started finding out about it over the last week or two. But
it was very, very fast. Like literally the decision came afterwards. Like Worlds Finals was 19 and there was an APAC meeting held on the literally next day, the 20th. And that's when I first started hearing about it from Valorant folks, because this was not just League of Legends, it was Valorant and League of Legends and TFT. But it was one of the part was the LJL merger, or like LJL, like PCS playoffs. So it happened around that time, the decision, and I attended the DFM fan meet.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I talked about it publicly because I was like at the start.
I saw you talk about it in like the LJL Discord that we have, but yeah.
Yeah, it was 26th. So in 26th, wait, no, that was. Wait, what? No, okay, that doesn't make sense. It wasn't yesterday. They changed the channel name. Because wait, what? Oh, it was 20th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was whatever. Just like they reorganized some stuff, whatever. So on the LJL, on DFM Discord, I'm checking right now, the fan meet was on the 20th. And the 20th...
That was before the meeting of APAC, right?
No, I think that was after.
Was it on that day then? Was it on that day but after? Because you said like, you said that the meeting was... So the finals was the 19th. The meeting you said was like the day after, so that's the 20th. If that fan meet was also on the 20th, would they have known about that in the meeting, in the fan meet?
Yeah, that's... I think looking at the times, I think it was after, but... I don't know if they exactly knew about it or not, but it was... How should I say this? This is really, really weird. Like, for example, Yutapon didn't say a single word.
Wow, and he's normally fairly talkative bloke.
Yeah, I mean, he has this troll persona. Sometimes he like doesn't reply to stuff. Like he has this like troll personality, but the whole fan meet was really, really weird. And at the end, I think I talked about this as well on the server, but at the end, there was like this little line that I think they just like kind of slipped. They're like, oh, we're gonna have another fan meet around like December 10th. Sometime in December, it's kind of like this. So I'm like, okay, so something is gonna happen if they already know that they need another one. At that time, I assumed it's gonna be mostly about roster stuff, but yeah, it was very, very like the whole vibe was very sad. And after there was obviously a Hachimecha stream that I also, I mean, I talked about in my own video. I don't think I talked about this too much publicly, but Hachimecha had a stream.
Yes, I saw you talking about that. Wait, it's a deleted video now, right? So this video is now gone. It was only an hour or two, but he was talking about his issues being a Japanese residency player in a scene where there are so many Korean imports, which are taking up a lot of slots, particularly in jungle, which is his role, whilst he's also a father, and then also the financial pressures he has, knowing that he has to support a family, so he can't take shit deals. He needs to actually get paid, so.
Yeah, so basically he was streaming for like 5 hours, and like after those 5 hours, he just like chatted a little with the people there, and he kind of said that like he's likely gonna retire.
That doesn't surprise me. That really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he said he doesn't want to make it like a big deal out of like, you know, tweeting out about it, because he's still thinking about it to a degree. But yeah, he said he just doesn't have a space. He himself said that he thinks he's the third best jungler in Japan after Blank and Steel. Just since he's a Japanese resident, and usually he is not the core piece who's starting the team building with, he's not gonna have a place anymore.
So asking in chat, Itusa, so yeah, if you look at LJL unofficial on Twitter, that's where we used to do our fan broadcast. Actually, that's how I met Hina as well, because Hina's been involved in the LJL scene for a long time. And if you look at the link in the bio there, you'll find all of the stuff that we do there. We haven't done a podcast episode in forever. I wonder if we do one just to bring it back, especially for this. But yeah. So for those of you who are wondering about what the format of this will be and what's happening, for those who are kind of surprised or confused about this, so the Oceanic region, LCO, has already been through this for 1 year. So Chiefs and Bliss played in the PCS summer playoffs. They played there. And I'm trying to remember if they also played in spring playoffs as well.
I think so.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Last year.
Yeah. And so, folks, the problem isn't necessarily about competition. This is going to sound weird, folks. But the problems I have, the immediate problems I have, and so Raz actually just made a tweet as well. Let's go find Raz's tweet, because I think Raz made a really good tweet here, which I completely agree with.
You know about the seeds, right?
No, that hasn't been announced on here, so I didn't want to assume. But what Raz is... Hang on, let me finish this. Oh, it has? What's happening with the seeds?
Yeah. That's the problem, it has been.
So what are the seeds? Is it still no changes to seeding? Is it still 2 seeds?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, so that now brings in a lot of big questions. So as Raz is saying here, I really, really agree with this. So what you're actually doing is you are hiding your regional teams in PCS playoffs. You're effectively making PCS into Worlds play-ins. That's what you're doing, effectively. You know,
I mean, with the GSL, quite literally.
Yeah.
It is going to be play-ins.
Yeah. So this is play-ins, and what you're doing is, so we haven't seen an OS team internationally this year. And reminder that OS are a region that, yes, they struggled for a while, but you look back to MSI 21, you had PGG make it through to like the Rumble stage. You've had Peace do okay as well at points. So, you know, it's not like OS was completely bereft of performances, and also outside of the performances, you know, they've had personality show up on stage. They get to showcase their region and their region's playstyle. You could argue that CBLOL have had crap periods of international form before, particularly, you know, in the 2015 to 2018-19 kind of era. Of course, recently they've been absolutely excellent. But, you know, just because LJL has had a bad 2 years if you want to argue it, right? Because, you know, the last 4 international events we've done quite poorly. Very poorly, in fact. We also had like an incredible run of form in 2021, and then also Worlds 2022 also involved in that. The performance is almost secondary. It's going to sound weird, but the way that Play-ins is right now, Play-ins teams are not set up for success anyway. It's not really about them doing well. It's more about them having big, heroic moments which then bring you back to their region and follow their stories. But League has been quite bad at enabling that. Now, suddenly if you have DFM, say, what are the LJL teams with really good stories? A Sengoku, a Hawk, say, well, Fennel might even be dropping from LJL, we'll see. There's been some rumors about that.
If you want some scoop about that.
Yeah?
Fennel and CGA are,
No,
rumored.
not CGA. No. CGA were my team back in the day. They were my team. Oh, shit.
It feels bad, I know. And also, especially feels bad for Fennel because they technically didn't buy the spot. Like, just so people know, like
they traded
Fennel
it
didn't
with them.
Yes, like basically, the company who owned Rascal Jester, which is like a computer company. Fennel bought the company itself, but like it was a merger kind of deal. So they didn't technically buy the spot. It wasn't like they're just buying a spot and now they're out. It's more just like they acquired the whole thing. But yeah, as far as I know, and as far as I heard now from multiple sources at this point, CJ and Fennel are gonna be the teams who are not participating next year, and it's gonna be a.
I'm just gonna look at LJL 2020 and remember these rosters very fondly. I'm just gonna look here, and this will be my happy place. Like, I miss the Aria CJ era. I miss Rascal Jester with like the well, maybe not the Sum one. Pink and Nagi were not great. Oh, it was so good. You know, I think back to the LJL, and you know, I've really found this region entertaining. I found it very engaging, right? And we were very lucky to have a couple of years of them being internationally viable, actually. You know, you look at Worlds 2021, where they did qualify to the group stage for the first time from the LJL. In Worlds 2022 as well, we saw DFM take 1 and almost 2 games off of RNG in the Plains, who then went on to lose to SKT or T1 in quarterfinals. So they were a strong team. They didn't end up kind of bowing out in very poor fashion there. You know, the more I think about this, all this is doing is just, again, capping what international experience a team like this is, well, a region like this is going to have. Because if you think about this now, if you think about the overall kind of like world circuit, right? What minor regions do we have? So we have, of course, the 2 seed regions of Vietnam and then OS, which we'll now fold into. We have lost OCL. We've lost Oz because they're into PCS as well. Japan's now going into there as well. We literally have 2 remaining like minor regions. So what happens now? What happens with the remaining spot? Is there anything we've seen about? No, so there's no change from the PCS slots, which is bizarre to me. So what happens to the remaining spot in play-ins if we're going to have an even number of teams in play-ins?
And that's the thing that I think, honestly, like in my opinion, it was left vague on purpose. Because obviously we have heard a lot of things about potentially a third event happening next year, which I don't think is going to happen because they announced November 2nd to be the London Worlds Finals.
So you're not going to have a winter tournament? Yeah, you're not going to have a winter tournament.
Yeah, I don't think they are going to have a third tournament for now, but I mean, they have a lot of options, I think. First of all, like in the article, like it was put together in less than a week, so I wouldn't put super away the possibility that some smaller details are not necessarily correct in the article. But as of right now, what the article explicitly said is the whole PCS is like together with the LCU and the LJL, the whole PCS is sending 1 seed to MSI and the 2 seeds to Worlds. Now there's this little caveat here that technically VQS or the LCQ, whatever the LCQ is called in League of Legends, now that's not part of Worlds.
Worlds qualifying series, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so there might be another qualifier effectively. They might expand the Worlds qualifying series. Or leaving it vague. They're leaving it vague enough to do that.
Yes, I think that would make the most sense because, like, what are the other possibilities? You can't really give it to NA.
There is another possibility. I mean, there is another possibility that you just say, okay, well, LJL champion goes through to Worlds Direct, and then 2nd and 3rd seeds or whatever go through to PCS or something like that. They won't do that. That doesn't make sense.
They already announced that it's not happening.
Yeah, I know that they said They said that there were 3 teams that would go towards PCS. I don't think they've left it vague enough to really walk that back. I think that would be a bit stupid.
I think like
what they might also do as well is just like have just NA and EU 4th seed instead of having another minor region. They might just do that.
The problem is NA has now 8 teams. That would mean they're sending half of their teams to Worlds. I don't think that's happening.
But like this is they've made some bizarre Riot Global have made some bizarre decisions in regards to that before though. So because what might happen is because of the short time frame of all of this, and you kind of need to know what Worlds qualifying is going to look like very early into the year, so people can invest properly and form a plan properly as to whether they're realistically going to make it to Worlds or not. They can't really leave that too late, so I don't know when they're going to announce that, but it has to be before season starts. They have a month to get their shit together, a month and a half to get their shit together and figure out what's happening with this.
Yeah, and also I think like realistically, I mean obviously they can always just add LPL 5 or LSTK 5, but yeah, at this point, Riot is always very keen on having like regional representation. So, and even though
in what sense with that? Because I'd actually disagree with that. I feel like regional representation for with the OC at leave. Well, I think with the way that they handled international wildcard before, with the way that OS has been folded into PCS, LJL's now been folded into PCS as well, and the way that the minor regions have had much harder time being visible on broadcast and globally as well, I don't know whether that regional representation has been a priority. That's one of my big problems. I mean, Rift Rivals went as well. It feels like minor regions have been slowly sliding down the priority level of League of Legends.
Honestly, I kind of see it as more like they're trying to just have the Valorant system. This is the same for Americas, like what happens in LCS. I think it's like very obvious that the Valorant, like they prefer the Valorant system and want to have Valorant system. And just honestly, in that case, I would rather just have the Valorant system, because right now, especially with the LCO, because LJL is still screaming with the PCS, like PCS, LJL, and VCS have been scrim partners.
VCS, PCS, LJL have been scrim partners for years at this point, folks.
Yeah, so I guess like it's especially, I think, would help LCO if there was just like a Pacific Super League where you could have like these semi-promotion things, like for example in the first split you promote there and like you can have like some changes between splits, so you could make the whole stuff out of that.
So the thing is,
I think like a super league would make more sense for LCO.
It would, as long as it is marketed and handled correctly, and that's the big worry for me, because I actually, you know, along those lines, I actually don't disagree with you and what they potentially could be doing too, because one of the things that we used to talk about is the LJL trio that we used to have doing LJL Unofficial when we did our podcast was effectively, so this is going to take a bit of a while, so this will be a bit of a diatribe, but if you look at the LJL on the whole, right, they send one team internationally, and because they're such a one-team dominant region, who here gets international experience? You have DFM right the way up until 2020 summer where V3 won. They were the last team to make it out of the LJL besides DFM, and before that it was Pentagram in 2018. So we've had 2 teams in 2 splits in the last like 5 years make it out besides DFM. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. What this means though is that you have one team with all the international experience, and DFM actually have had they managed to peak with that, right? 2021 when they went to MSI, they had a good result at MSI 2021 despite not making out of the initial stage. They beat Cloud9, and that was the famous Blabber Crabber moment. That was actually DFM, if you remember that. It wasn't just like Blabber like inting his ass off, it was actually DFM forcing him into that spot. And then Worlds when they qualified 3 players as first seed as well. So it's not like the LJL has had no international performances, but what it means is that when you look at the rest of the league, who else gets to have international competition? When you have, so let's say for instance, we go through to this summer. Let's look at our rookies, right? There's a whole load of rookies in here that have never been international. There are some veterans here that have never been international, and what tends to happen is your first international tournament sucks ass. Remember when Rhino went to Worlds 2023 with Worlds 2020 with V3? He sucked, even though he was the best player in the LJL, arguably that split in 2020 summer. So now effectively, what is going to happen if you're kind of consigning the LJL to go into the PCS, where it's likely that a lot of investors are not going to put as much money into the LJL because there's no guaranteed MSI or world spot, is that you're going to have a lot of teams which somehow need to punch above their weight to then get to an international tournament, to then suck the first time, because it's really hard being an international debutant, especially from a minor region. And then you have to somehow do that all over again to make it through to an international tournament to actually show what you've learned. The process for a minor region to actually have good international results is hellish. It's really difficult, folks. DFM did that by having multiple year plans. Of course, that kind of hit a roadblock when they didn't know what to do with their top lane situation after Ebby left. But it is a real problem for minor regions, and this doesn't have to apply to just the LJL as well. This can happen to multiple other regions, where you only have one team going international at once. If you don't have multiple teams going internationally, like, heck, we used to have this with Rift Rivals, right? We'd have second and third seeds going internationally in some points. You're never going to have that trickle down. You're never going to have that combined learning as a region, and it means that slowly your just player skills start drifting over time, where your rookies never get to level up to that next point. So having something like an Asian Super League, or like a Pacific Super League, as we've kind of been talking about, and that kind of happens in Valorant and stuff like that, potentially that can help, as long as the level of competition is there, as long as it is supported well enough and broadcast and marketed well. That can work out very well for these teams, so they do get themselves an adequate international tournament to get themselves relevant experience. But if this is handled poorly and it's just kind of a concession to them, say, oh, okay, we'll put something on for them, and like the level of competition isn't very good because the format's not very good as well, and you get like one best of 3 before you're out or whatever, then this is going to be a huge just drain on skills and resources to these regions. Because financially, this is an awful move for the LGL. Like, you used to have, like a lot of big investors into some of the big teams, but I don't know if we're going to get that now without guaranteed world spots.
Also, it was this is like a chime in a little, just but like what Hachimach has talked about as well. It has been at least rumored, leaked, that like whatever, because like every team, every franchise team gets a portion of money from Riot. And some reports, some leaks are suggesting that Riot is halving them. Gonna be half the money that they have gotten.
Really? Oh my god. Oh, that is disastrous.
If you give me like a second, I have
that
some
is disastrous.
exact numbers that I have gotten.
So funnily enough, this is not dissimilar to what this is not dissimilar to what happened to the NLC and the ERLs, for those of you that follow like the EU Masters, EMEA Masters kind of European regional experience. So NLC had some good results at EMEA Masters. They went to the finals a couple of times there, despite not winning it. But then they went from accredited to non-accredited. That was for financial mishandling rather than actual performance reasons, though, or anything else. And now they're at a point where financially they basically cannot field competitive rosters at an EU Masters level. Which is why, again, my worry for the LJL is not necessarily about the practice which they're getting from PCS, because playing as PCS teams and OS teams on stage is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I like the fact that we get that, but at the cost of having financial, disaster for the region, that's not really a worthwhile trade. So, for instance, folks, if you were a Korean import playing in Japan, and a lot of the time, what would happen is, you look over to like Hawks, right? You've got players like Blank, ex-SKT Blank. If you are someone who's not really at LCK level, or you're kind of on that fringe between like LCK team or LCK challenger or something like that, a lot of Korean players would go and play in Japan instead. It's a nice place to live. It's a good quality of life. You get to be closer to home compared to other places in the world. And you also get yourself a pretty good paycheck. So from what I've heard, LCK imports, Korean imports to the LJL would get, from a team like Sengoku or maybe DFM, they get about $20K US dollar equivalent a month. So that's, that's actually pretty damn good. You're getting up towards, you're into like your hundreds of thousands, like $300,000 a year kind of paycheck. For a Korean player playing in a minor region, that's good bank. That's good bank, folks. Now, what's going to happen now is there's going to be a big problem where I don't know whether you're going to be able to retain your top tier players because the paychecks are going to be cut so much.
While I was searching up the place that I got my first information about the stuff, apparently I got some new leaks. I mean, I literally just got them, so I can't confirm them. It's just fully rumors. Like, literally just one source, fully rumors. Apparently, there's a reason they kept it so vague about the imports.
Yeah.
So what I have gotten information is that for 2024, they're gonna leave everything as of right now. But starting 2025, they want to just basically the same as in America, tie residency to like legal residency.
Legal residency. Well, yeah. So LJL. So weird you mentioned that. I was hearing this before that LJL were looking into. I don't know whether this ever became a thing, but after Steel got his residency, so DFM's jungler, after he got Japanese residency, the rumor was that effectively that would be the last one that would be put through. Like that would be the last residency that we would get through, because they were looking into that kind of thing as well. Now, if that actually does end up becoming a reality, that changes the way that LJL roster built quite a lot. But again, I mean, I think that will take a backseat to the financials of the league, because it's going to be so hard to get actual significant investors into a league that won't be guaranteed going international. So,
also another just from the same source, another thing. But these are these are just rumors. Like I couldn't confirm. I just got them right. I couldn't confirm anything. Another one is that format is gonna stay the same, which means regular season BO3 single round robin into all teams in the BO5 playoffs.
All teams BO5 playoffs.
Yeah, same as in summer.
Also, another thing which I wanted to check as well was so on the LJL video, did it say that there were going to be 7 teams in LJL?
Oh, that's just like a graphic.
I saw that, but then like there was a point in here. Let me.
I know what you mean. I checked it out as well, but that was that's just a graphic. Just
a graphic. But like, why would they just not put like 8 teams or something like that?
I guess like they didn't want to leak it because they were like, okay, so we shouldn't leak 6. But like if we put 8, then it's misleading. Let's put 7.
Yeah. So you look here, like you look at LCO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, LJL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like, but LCO didn't they have a team just like bow out for financial reasons?
Not just one. I think it was Dexterto. I read an article just yesterday about like financial issues for multiple teams in LCO.
Yeah. This is just really weird messaging. They're leaving a lot of stuff vague, but they're leaving a lot of stuff open for interpretation. And this is a big problem in esports or anything that people want to invest into. If you have
just like keep in mind, this announcement is like, as I said before, it's like it is English. Like this is from PCS basically. So there should be another one for like LJL formats, LJL teams, etc. So it was there should like this is not from the LJL management. This is from this new APAC whatever super organization, super meeting that happened. There should be another, like this is not from LJL management. There should be another one from them.
Also, another thing,
after Riot Games 1.
They said that they want to improve the fan experience by providing quality broadcast products in English. Now, I know that PCS Playoffs was broadcast by the folks that were working out of New Zealand. They did PCS Playoffs. But does that mean that just continues the way it was? Or does this mean that actually, because we now have PCS involving LJL, do we need an English broadcast of the LJL? Are we running it back for LJL English?
In my video, I literally just, when I read this, I was like, I hope so. They're gonna contact you. Like, I just hope so.
I mean, with the LPL imploding, I may have more availability, folks. I mean, if my next year is doing a fan broadcast for LPL on Dom and Cadrill's kind of channels or whatever they're doing, like, and then also doing LJL, that's actually okay for me. Legit. Like, somehow I don't mind that because, you know, guys, end of the day, particularly us two and a couple of others, we just love the LJL. We've been around this region for a while. There are so many players I have very fond memories of, and so many matches I have great fond memories of. I want it to continue in the best possible form. And a lot of how that works is, you know, giving these teams the resources to tell their stories. And, you know, we try to do that from a fan perspective. I think that minor regions on the whole have been done a great disservice by, I guess, just the way that minor regions are regarded and broadcast to the world. Because, you know, there aren't English broadcast or international highlights of these regions and stuff. You know, I'd love to be able to continue to provide that in some form. But, like, these teams are going to be on death's door when it comes to figuring out what to do next year and in terms of the resources they have. They're going to be on scraps for a little while. I'm very interested to see what happens with DFM because they have continually put in resources to this team one way or another. They have a lot of brand loyalty from their players. And if you were saying like Utapon was basically not saying a bloody word in their fan meet and stuff like that, I wonder what the mentality is within that team. That cannot be good for them.
Also, another thing that I posted about is I just noticed, just fully randomly, like yesterday, Milan has deleted, like Milan had like DFM Milan in his name on Twitter,
Yeah.
DFM header, all the DFM from bio, from name, from header, everything left. It's like no more DFM. Milan is almost certainly out.
Jeez, man.
Milan XC. You know?
Yeah, what was his Twitter at?
Milan XC, I think AXI.
AXI? This one?
I think.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, wow, gosh.
Is.
So he's gone. Dress Code has also retired as well.
Yeah.
So wait, actually, let's have a think about that. So this is the last playoffs that we saw from LJL. This is 2023 summer. Now, Megamin, he's retired. That's a real shame. He only started in 2021. He was the mid laner for Axis. But the reason he retired is because he was basically on sabbatical from university. So he's been playing as a pro player now for, just over 2 years. But I think because of these changes, that's basically put the final nail in his player career. So Megamin's gone. He had some pretty good moments.
This is also from Hacha's stream. He said that Megumin actually has been thinking about it for a while. Like obviously they were close.
Yeah.
He said that he was thinking about it for a while, and since he doesn't have any more time, like he didn't have any more free time from university, he just had to decide that is he really gonna go all in to League of Legends or university? And
I think with news like this, that's not going to help. I'm not going to ascribe that to it, but it obviously doesn't help. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Hatcher Metcher himself. He wanted to go into coaching, but the paycheck isn't there for him to support a family on that effectively. So he feels like he has to keep playing, but I don't know what the paycheck for playing is going to be now. He's a Japanese resident, so he's not going to be like on Korean import dollar.
I found this information. I thought I can't find what's now. The only thing I found is what was so far up until this point, which is gonna be, I think I heard this was gonna be like half of it, but so far up until this point, teams have gotten 20 million yen, which is about like 130,000 US dollars per year for the whole team operations, out of which they were required to pay 12 million, which is 80,000 US dollars to players and the staff, or like the 6 players and coaches. They were required to play $80,000 per year, and it's gonna be way less now.
This is very similar to what happened with the NLC in the ERL system as well, because you're just getting much less money from that, which then means you have to consider your budget a lot more. Sponsors are much less likely to come to your league because it's just much less lucrative overall. There's just much less money in the system. We've also seen Dress Code retire. Who else did a retirement post? I know that it was Megaman and Dress Code. Is anyone else retired just yet? Obviously, like pretty much all of the teams have announced a load of people just going free agent as well. Like the Hawks have put everyone as free agent pretty much.
I mean, that's actually just
that's a standard thing. I know that's a standard thing, but like
it's a thing that's like different from Eastern and Western. Western scene.
Basically, in Eastern, most people just allow them going into free agency. Just pretty much every. I mean, I know Damwon, for instance, put everyone free agent every offseason for them to like explore their offers and stuff.
For example, I mean, Sengoku founder and CEO. He has been tweeting out actually a lot, like insider stuff.
Yeah.
He said that he has resigned several players, so there are gonna be returning players from Sengoku.
Yeah, I did see that. Sure. They said they resigned. I don't know whether they said they were resigning all of their players or just some of them.
No, not all. Several. He said several, and there are several new signings.
Okay,
well,
but I'm just gonna say there's a bit of a difference between signing Egato and Nessie compared to Jet and Logan. Look, I love those guys, but there's a bit of a difference between, having the best mid laner in the league not named Arya, and then also the best AD carry in the league not named Utapon and Loken.
Yeah. didn't specify who. Also Burning Core just now. So basically, there are 3 teams at the moment who are explicitly said that they are gonna be in the LJL and they are in the team building process.
Yeah.
Those 3 are Sengoku. Once again, the CEO is kind of active on Twitter. Also, Burning Core CEO has also stated that They are committed to the LJL, and they are in the process.
They
are
committed to having Yuhi start on their roster despite him being the worst AD carry in the league. That's what you mean.
I'm not sure about that one. Maybe he stays.
Yeah, maybe. So, by the way, folks, this is just like this is a running joke which we've had, because Hina here is the world's #1 stan of this dude. And I get that he looks like a pop star. I get this. But this dude has been ruining my LJL experience for the last 3 years. This dude has been like, we used to joke in 2020 that he was only good at Aphelios. And he was good at Aphelios. But that was the year where Aphelios was absolutely mega broken. I have no idea how this guy's managed to retain a starting spot on an LJL team by being... with the results which he has had for a great many years. But, well, Burning Core is still in the LJL, which means that Yuhi cometh. He cometh once more, 2024. It's the year of Yuhi. God.
If I have to guess, what's another player actually from Burning Core who I would surprisingly would expect to come back is Al? Because he has super, like, I don't know if he is like, I don't know if he's a weeb, but he's very, he's very connected to the community. He's like always like replying to others. He's like super, like he's Japanese, like he's always talking in Japanese.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He seems like he wants to be here.
But so the problem when it comes to like Korean players is basically about how they evaluate their own financial worth, their own monetary worth. Because you know there are some players. I mean, Yahorong obviously wanted to stay in the LJL. He wanted to stay on DFM, but they chose Aria over Yahorong. You know, that left him available to go to another team if he wanted to, but he didn't find another place. Do you know if Yahorong actually retired or went military service? Is he still looking for a team?
Oh, I think...
So I remember him, like, he turned all of his socials, like, to full black squares and stuff, and he was like, no, I'm going dark, and he just, like, he effectively deleted all of his socials after the DFM stuff.
He has some phases, yeah. I mean,
emotional player, we shall say.
Fine. He's just fine. Sometimes appearing in the Korean... like Korean, I don't even know if FM Korea or where, but like sometimes I see him like do stuff on like Korean forums, and like he was like in a stream with like another player just chatting. So I think he's just like chilling. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he just does his military service as well, because it's better to do it now. Yeah, he is around, but like not much.
Yeah. But there's just a lot of implications for this which kind of go a little bit beyond what you think. This isn't just, oh, it's harder for LJL to qualify for MSI and Worlds. Of course, now, I don't think you're ever going to see... So, if you look at results in the past, right, this year's been different because, you know, the DFM had so many issues with top lane. And other teams couldn't beat them regionally still.
Just before internationals and stuff.
Yeah. So, like, they had, like, at midsummer, things fell apart for them, and MSI already wasn't very good for them. But before that, you look at 2022 and 2021, LJL has beaten PCS second seed before. We've actually consistently beaten them until this year. So when it was Beyond Gaming, we beat them at Worlds 21 and 22. So,
and I know
that was pretty good for them.
But even this year, from what I know, PSG was far and beyond everyone else, but all the other teams were comparable. Like they were. I'm not sure about like exact percentages, but like I think actually no, I am sure about percentages because Steel literally said in one of the fan meets that they had 50% win rate against Beyond this year, which is not.
And Beyond were third seed from PCS this year.
Or not Beyond, or
CFO. They were the
CFO. Yeah.
Well, they got demolished by them on stage, so that's obviously that didn't help very much.
I mean, it's just Scream box, but like at least it screams. PSG was far and beyond, but others were somewhat similar. But as you mentioned, as well, it's not necessarily about power levels. That's not the biggest problem.
Well, I mean, but it does weigh into a certain extent, right? Where you want. It's more about the development of the region than the raw power levels, because being able to improve is more important than just starting off good. Because if you can improve more, then it doesn't matter what you start at, you can eventually reach a decent level, and you can get beyond like other competitors if you're developing better than them. Now, the thing is, DFM, once they had this multi-year plan, and obviously this is the team which was represented LJL for a long time, you know, they've beaten PCS second seed for a number of years in a row, this year being a bad result for them. So I don't think it's that LJL cannot make it to international events. It's just a case of, are you now, without the guaranteed world spot and MSI spot, giving up a lot of financial resources as a region to continue having that support to which kind of forms the backbone of your region. Can you continue that level of development beyond that point? Because you do need good level of competition. You also do need the financial resources too, on the whole.
I mean, I just calculated it. It's like, so team so far, like, it's 100% gonna decrease for next year. Like in previous years and this year, team has gotten this is the minimum salary that Riot has stated, that like here teams, here's the money, give it to the 6 players and the coaches. That was $80,000 for a year.
That's not much.
We have to expect it's gonna go down. We have to expect that it's gonna go down. So if it's staying around like 60-50, that means like 10,000 per year. That's
that you're not on livable.
That's literally, I mean, you have to have a second job.
I mean, already Korean imports had a fair amount of money. That's one thing, but I mean, put it this way: most academy players weren't even paid, really. They were basically there on. It's basically an internship.
Well, everyone has second jobs.
Yeah, it's like everyone has second jobs or living with their parents. So academy teams in the LJL had no money at all. So it was already at the point where you think, okay, well, all the money available is going into the LJL team to make them function. If that's being cut, yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for teams to like financially support themselves. That's going to be a very difficult experience. So yeah, I mean, there have been a couple of folks like replying to me and saying like, oh, but LJL, they had a bad year, they don't have the results to back this up, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, at what point does a bad result, what length of bad results makes it worth it kind of shutting down a league effectively, or reducing a league? It's not shutting it down, but at what point do you do that? I mean, what happens to the LLA? The LLA's had bad results for a while. CBLOL, they had years of bad competition. Yeah, the LJL has had a bad year and a half. What happens with this?
When I posted on my Twitter like a few days ago about like this rumor, a lot of LLA people were like, "Okay, we are the next." A lot of LLA people.
I mean,
were like, I know
that the VCS guys, because I know that financially the VCS is absolutely in the shitter. Like, what happens with the VCS? No. And this becomes like a hugely increasing issue because you're going to get this momentum swing of minor regions just kind of like dropping one by one. And what this means now is, I mean, let's go back a couple of years. Let's go to 2020 Worlds, right? Because how many minor regions did we have here? And so we had where's the qualifying stuff? Qualified for playing stage. So you have Turkey, OS, Latin America, Japan, CIS, which is LCL, so it's kind of like Eastern Europe into Russia, Brazil, and then you had seeds from PCS, and this should have been VCS as well. So the VCS should have been there as well. So now we no longer have Turkey, that's part of the ERL system. You no longer have CIS, that's technically also part of EMEA 2, despite the fact that there is no LCL competing in it. OS is folded into PCS, and then you have now Japan folding into that as well. We used to have, 6, 7 minor regions, depending if you count like VCS, PCS as part of that. So 7, 8, I suppose. And now we're down to like, 4. 4 guys. We have CBLOL and LATAM as the surviving true minor regions as 1 seed regions. Now, I'm not going to like do the calculations for percentage of the world population which lives within certain regions, but you have basically cut off a huge swathe of international representation in terms of nationality on the international stage. If you're a Japanese person, you want to watch Japanese players play at Worlds, like there is now a lower chance that you're going to see them. If you're an OS resident, and same kind of thing. What happens if you do have to fold like CBLOL and LATAM into some Mega America's League or something like that? Like you are losing a huge amount of potential. Like, there is a huge amount of folks which are, like, countries and nationalities which are not going to be visible at Worlds. And I get that it is meant to be at about the highest level of performance. I do understand that. But if you're at a play-in stage, like, at the bottom end of Worlds, you should still have representation for these larger regions which have a history of league performance. And we're getting to the point now where it is very... I mean, you cannot physically have PCS, CBLOL, and Japan all at you can't have PCS, OS, and LJL at Worlds because there are only 2 World slots. So you're getting to the point where you're missing out on huge chunks of representation internationally, and I think that's a big issue. Did I see your question?
Also,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, and also just like I mean there are like a lot of problems. I think like on paper, like in principle, having a super league, having like this, because like Pacific is in like it's technically you can like make a Pacific region, and VCS, LJL, PCS somewhat same level. The main problem is just, and also this is something that not necessarily this one, but like I'm gonna touch on this later, like what Uvaker said, V3 coach. But I think like the main problem is that it's just so like glued together. Because in VCS or in VCT, you have a Super League and you have a very strong tier 2 system. Japan's tier 2 system in Valorant is massive. It's actually the biggest, even bigger than North America's. There is a massive tier 2 system that people want to watch, people want to see development there. And then, even if DFM had a horrible split in Valorant as well, even if they have a horrible split in the main Super League, you still have this tier 2 system that you can watch and like you can follow, then you see teams there. Obviously, they have the extension system as well, which is really great.
This kind of like starts overlapping with, or this delves into the issue in League for Japan, which is the fact that the Japanese server in League is awful. It's very bad.
I have a fun little thing about that. Did you know that, for example, Yellow Yoshi, I mean, you know Yellow Yoshi,
top laner,
started playing on the Taiwanese server
instead of LJL? Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, he still plays on Japan from time to time, but like he streams a lot from the Taiwanese server. I mean, twice the population, way less queue times. Ping is good, 40 milliseconds to
40
Taiwan.
is fine. That's fine. Yeah, it's not as good as Korea or whatever. But like Yellow Yoshi used to play top lane for Axes, so like wasn't he trading off with the Poppy main? Trying to remember exactly when he was playing, but yeah, Yellow Yoshi was like one of the players who tried to like delve into like save Axis at points.
That was a Totsu combo.
Oh yeah, Yellow Yoshi Toltu. Yeah. I remember that now. Because that was when Toltu was playing Draven top lane. Draven top lane. Yep. Draven Akshan. That was such a year, man. I miss that shit, though. I miss that so much. Yeah, Yellow Yoshi was, like, the best top player in the LJL, but only on Poppy. Because Yellow Yoshi was, like, he was like a Poppy one-trick. It was great. Smite top lane Poppy. Yeah. Where, like, you just run around the map, level 3. So, this is a thing that we've seen this year, which is once Poppy hits level 3, Poppy is actually full build. So, all you need to do is hit level 3, and then you just run around the map. You did that from top lane because Smite was easier to build in lanes at that point. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me that people are just abandoning the LJL server, like the JP server, because you only have ranked and blind pick. Those are the only two modes that you have.
It's called quick play now.
And you have, which is now quick play. Yeah, I've been playing on PB, and it's a bit of a mess, honestly.
I don't even know if it's like this. Whatever. I haven't.
But yeah, like, but you have a lot of people VPNing onto the JP server from different like nearby regions as well.
Smurfs.
You have a lot of Chinese and, well, you have some, like, Taiwanese and Korean players, too, as well. But, like, they just kind of, like, muddy up the server a little bit because they just play for fun a lot of the time on the JP server. So it's very hard to get a genuine learning experience from Japanese solo queue. So, yeah, I mean...
Funny anecdote is, there was, like, I don't remember who, but one of the pro players was streaming, I was watching him.
Yeah.
And basically, like, there was someone writing something in Japanese in chat, and everyone was like, wait, there's someone writing in Japanese on the Japanese server? So yeah, that's the state that the servers are right
now. Curious, do you think the weakness of the Japanese server is related to the fact that League of Legends predates the massive surge in PC gaming in Japan? Valorant, Apex, etc. are quite healthy there as newer PC games, and non-PC based esports like fighting games and Magic the Gathering are long-time Japanese strongholds. Was League just in a weird middle ground of timing? I mean, a lot of it is about the server. Like, the server is just shit. We've just been talking about that. Like, for a while, Japanese players would just... I believe they used to just play on NA for a while. Yutapon used to just play on NA. And then for a while, it was okay because you could get onto the Korean server. But then, because of various happenings, which is mainly people inting fake as solo queue, it's not easy to get onto the Korean server now. So, you can't play Korean solo queue unless you're boot camping there, which is now a big problem. So... In terms of,
I mean, technically, you can play Korean solo. You just can't stream it, can't post about it. So that's also kind of plays into just pro players are not able to have any type of content because they can't show off their practice environment, which is and
so
also
like
just
at the pro level, it's already difficult, and then at the casual level, like good luck. The server is just not great. Sam used to live out in Japan as well. When he was living there, it was a bad time to play on the Japanese server. Now, if you've been watching my stream, like, besides this one, I've been playing PBE on, like, 200 ping arena. Don't get me wrong, it's funny, but you just can't play certain things. Like, I can play stuff like Zyra because plants don't need ping. They're just plants, folks. Like, if I wanted to play, like, Zed or Assassins or something like that, I couldn't do that at that. And so, effectively, your practice for low ping champions is then your live games and your scrims on Tournament Realm. So yeah, playing at a casual and a pro level in Japan is quite difficult for League of Legends. And I think also the fact that you also now have like, well, for a long time the LJL just like had basically no good results internationally too. I mean, the first good international result we had was 21 Worlds. I mean, we had Rift Rivals. We had Rift Rivals 2017 where we won against VCS and OPL. So that was, oh wait, was it even called VCS at that point? Was it GPL OPL? I think it was GPL OPL at that point.
Well, by the way, just there, I remember there was also like a funny little thing that happened. Since the Japanese solo queues is terrible, like you have to wait for hours.
Yep.
Just to have like a horrible matches, it's really bad. So what the pro players started doing like a month or two ago, they just started playing flex queue, and flex queue actually became a lot higher quality than solo queue in Japan, because like a lot of pros got together, the 4 or 5 of them onto flex queue. A lot of people who were high low just wanted to be there, wanted to play against them. Like you want to play against 5 good players. So for a while, flex queue was actually much higher quality.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of issues with this, and it just adds in extra just inconvenience to becoming a pro in the LJL and then staying a pro within the LJL. The player base is not that high. Like, there's a whole load of infrastructure server issues. There's a whole load of everything with that. There was a question earlier about...
Kind of tying into that, just quickly, like what Avaker said, because I think that's that's a point that I haven't really considered myself just after reading it. Avaker is V3 coach, and he has contract until 2024, so I think he's gonna stay there.
Right.
Looks like he's gonna stay there. But Avaker said basically that he doesn't... let me just bring up so I could translate. So yeah, he was like, I think this change is gonna be good long time for the LJL. But
Sorry, who was saying this?
Sorry?
Who was saying this? I missed the name.
Avaker.
Oh, Avaker, yeah. Yep, coach of
he
V3.
said that. Yeah. So he said that he thinks it's gonna be a positive for LJL in the long run. But he thinks the main issue is not even that one. He says that the main issue with LJL right now is there are so few regular season games, because in summer as well you already had just a single round robin, so you only played you only played 7 games and then went into playoffs, so super low amount of games. He said that like this is the problem, that because so few games were happening on the stage. Stage is entirely different from scrims. So he said, and he also added just after that, for example, in Academy, there were a lot of games this year in the LJL Academy League, and he noticed, like, he visibly saw players getting better and better and better every single game. So it's very sad that just after I read this, I heard from sources again, just like a few minutes ago, that apparently it looks like that there's not gonna be a change for the format, and we're gonna have the same 6 teams single round robin BO3 into all team playoffs, which is just so few games. Like, you play 5 BO3s.
LJL has changed formats an awful lot too. So if you look at let's just go back to the LJL overhead, shouldn't we? So they used to have double round robin best of 3s. That was back in, I don't know, call it like 2018, something like that. I think they had double best of... Yeah, so it's double round robin best of 3 back in like 2018, 2019. You get through to 2020, and they go through to double best of 1 round robin.
Yeah. The horror days. So
what we used to have, hang on, hang on, look at the schedule for this. Look at the freaking game days, man. We used to have 8 game days. 8 best of 1s every day. And then and then we had, so when we were broadcasting this as fans, we had Saturday, Sunday, 8 games. So we had 16 games within 24 hours effectively, within like 30 hours. So that was pretty insane. Then we got through to
4 a.m. GMT.
Yep, so it was really early. Oh god. So what we used to do is we used to start with We used to start with the last 4 games, and then we'd go back in the afternoon and do the earlier 4 games. Because we just couldn't start at 4 a.m. like consistently. We just couldn't do that. So this is 2020. And then you move through to... It wasn't... 21, I think they still had best... Yeah, they still had best of ones in 21. Then... Oh, did they have the triple round robin in 21? Was that triple round robin?
14, the 7... No.
No, it's 22.
Then doesn't look like.
Then 2022, we had triple best of 1 round robin. Yeah. So it was... how many... What was the game day like? Yeah, so they had less game days, so it was 4 games, but it was a triple round robin. So you had... Look at the frickin' game days we had. Look at this. What is this? For an 8-team league, this is an utterly crazy amount of games. And then you go through the... Then you go to 23 and they go back to... This went back to best of 3 round robin, right? Or was this double round? This was double round robin, best of 3.
Best of 3 is... Yeah, this year was best of 3.
But double round robin,
It was first it was double round and single elimination playoffs, then it was single round and double elimination. Actually, hype, like it's the very weird playoff this summer.
Yeah, so single round robin, single round robin best of 3 for summer, and then playoffs was... Yeah, then we finally got through to like a better playoff system again, because I really liked the LJL's playoff system for a while, because you have the top 2 teams. You used to have, well, not this one, but you look back to their old playoff system, and they used to have, so let's go back to like 21. So they used to have a really good system, which I think a lot of other regions have overcomplicated. What you have is you have your top 2 teams from regular season playoff. So you have a best of 3, what we call a juggernaut match, which is always good. We always had good matches in those. Then you had the other 4 teams that qualified play through a lower bracket. Now, it does mean that if you win up a bracket, you literally only play 2 best of 5s, but at least you don't have like the LCK problem where you have the gauntlet system where you just wait in the finals and then you don't get any practice. But it means that you get guaranteed first versus second. They drop down into the lower bracket as well. Going through the lower bracket is hard because you have to play 1, 2, 3. You have to play 4 best of 5s. But it did mean that you had like a really comprehensive way to kind of see the best teams play off and then also have like some really cool runs from the lower bracket. Like here, V3 ran from lower bracket into finals, which was really cool this time around. Like in 21
I wonder if you're going to go back to this one because we're going to have 6 teams.
I think it's good. I think it's good. I like it.
We're going to have 6 teams now in playoffs, so the possibility. I think they just run back this one, if I'm being honest. Like this, like the Juggernaut.
Yeah, I like the Juggernaut matchup. I think that's good. What that does mean is that obviously actually can you do that? Because what that means is that your Juggernaut matches, your first and second from regular season automatically qualify for PCS playoffs. I don't know whether you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's top 3. Yeah. So the lowest you can get while starting the Juggernaut match is you bomb out twice, like Rascal did here. So they would have to, they would be top 3 minimum. So I don't know whether they can do that. But that's a shame, because I like that actually.
So I wonder how you like comprehend the seed system, because honestly there is like one way I did, then I read others, and I was like, wait, is it like that? So what do you think about like the top 3 seeds, like in the announcement?
Top 3 seeds in what sense?
In like in the announcement, they say whenever there is like they have like the little graph, like the little graphic there in the LOL esport announcement thing. They have this like this little.
So in regards to how they are seeded, or
this one, the stage 2 on stage 2. In 3
top seeded teams. Yeah, is that a top seeded team from each region? Is this like all the PCS top seeded teams? How are they going to balance this? Because let's be honest, folks, OC's first seed and second seed got stomped. Like if you look here, right, they got absolutely freaking stomped, right? They won 2 games total and Bliss won 0 games total. Like, whereas I mean, so right here the top seeds are actually, how is this seeded actually? Because you had PSG start in round 2, J Team started round 2.
All we are.
So you had
incompetent.
Yeah, so you had the top PCS teams seeded in immediately. Yeah, this is going to be a problem.
Different.
This is actually going to be a problem. How do you actually seed this? Because how many teams are you going to have total in playoffs?
6.
You're going to have 6 teams total. So you're going to have double elim from PCS LJL LCO, PCS LGL LCO.
If you watch the video, there's a format explainer, just like.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that. I think
unfortunately it doesn't really explain much.
That's the thing. It doesn't really explain where the seeds are going. Like you have So you have this. This is fine. Cool, cool, cool. Can you show us the graphics, please? So this is the 11 teams. So you have 11 teams in playoffs, but you have a first seed. You have like a first stage and a second stage.
Yeah, first
So
it's like Worlds. It's kind of like Worlds. Like the first part is just GSL.
So that's PCS playoffs, okay. Do you have...
And that's the thing, like even in Japanese, like I mean, yeah, it was translated, so I don't know how much weight I should put in there. But like in the Japanese article, it was also kind of implied. It wasn't like explicitly implied, but it was kind of implied that what they mean is the 3 first seeds.
Yeah,
I think that's what they mean, but they never say it. Like never ever explicitly say it. Even here, just like A1 to 3, they don't really. And this is just the normal, like how planes was exactly.
Let's have a look, see. So what's happening in this graphic here? So, play-in. So direct seed.
I would assume LCO would be, in that case, like if it's
So they only have, so this, I think, because, no, so the way this works right here, right? Because round 2 starts here. You only have 2 direct seeds. I think what we're going to have is very similar to what happened in PCS before. You have 2 direct seeds who are the top the top 2 PCS teams. So I think that the first seeds from LJL OS will not be put direct seeders. You're going to have 2 direct seeds from No, I don't think so, because if you look here, if you look on this video, round 2 of stage 2. Oh no, so hang on, that's the point. There are 3 direct seeds. Shit, you're right.
That's
so round 1 has 1 direct seed, and then you have a direct seed from the next 2.
That could be LCO. That's what I mean.
You could have LCO. You could have a direct seed from each of the regions. Oh, sorry, I missed that in round 1. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, but then how are you going to do... The problem with this kind of format, this happens all the bloody time, is that you're going to have... What happens if OS has a blowout tournament? How do you then reseed for the next year? Like, what are you going to do in terms of changing around these direct seeds? What happens if, like, you know, LJL has a crap year? Are you going to change OS and LCO's seeds? Are you going to do that? Like LCO and LJL, you're going to switch them around?
I'm not sure. I can't run the math in my head, but I'm pretty sure it's almost guaranteed that OS and LJL are going to meet. I think it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah, well, you're going to have... well, I mean, you have to between...
I
mean, I think you have to, right? Because, wait, you only have 2 seeds from LCO. But, I mean, with stage 1 having double LM, you're likely to have that, which is not a bad thing. If you've got multiple regions playing in a playoffs, you want them to meet.
I mean, if it actually is the first seeds, like if it is 3 first seeds, and if it is like the 2 round 2 teams are PCS and LJL, in that case, even if Ocean would lose in the round 1, they would be in the lower bracket. So if LJL goes forward, then it's obvious that, I mean, they would get the seed in upcoming years. I think they can decide, like I think it's like a fair amount. Or if both of them just lose, like if both of them lose the matches, then they would not necessarily meet. I mean, the only way they don't meet is like if both of them are getting a PCS team in the low bracket.
Yeah. So JCube is noob. So in terms of the short-term sustainability, from what we've been talking about on here in terms of the financials, it's probably not very short-term sustainable is the problem as well. Because you've got massively less funding to the teams from Riot. You have much less ability to now to convince sponsors to join your team or to help the league in any way, which means that the financials of the league are going to nosedive. They're going to absolutely nosedive. Which means that for players, for staff, for the teams themselves, it is going to be a very, very bad year. And while in the future, maybe it will lead to a better level of play if you somehow manage to recover those financials and then have competitive playoffs like this when you're playing against OS and you're playing against PCS as well, maybe that can work out. But I think long term, there are some potential victories, but it is so volatile right now. I think we're going to go see a lot of groundwork being torn up because a lot of the work which LJL teams have done over the last couple of years, like the Hawks, like Sengoku, like DFM, trying to build towards great success, like multi-year plans, I think that's going to be torn up. But yeah, I think it does look, at least with the 3 direct seeds, at least you're going to have an OS, LJL, and PCS team into stage 2, which is probably pretty good.
I mean, I hope so. It's so vague.
It's really vague, and that doesn't help as well, because you've got a lot of... obviously, we are speculating. The teams and the players will be speculating as well. And yeah, and obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with the broadcast side of things, too. I mean, what's going to happen with... They did say that they wanted to get, like, English broadcasting stuff. There was, like, a New Zealand-based studio doing PCS playoffs. Which, yeah... I think there was some talk about that last year, because effectively the OS casters were not invited to cast their own teams in playoffs. Like, that felt really shit. Like, the OS casters couldn't cast their own teams in playoffs. Which is, I don't know. I think that felt quite bad. Now, I would like there to be more of a... like, if this is going to be the case and you have, like, an English... I mean, there was some English PCS... There was a whole load of drama with English PCS casting. This last year.
I haven't heard about them.
Well, it's because like I'm pretty sure that the PCS cast like basically went off of LoL Esports. I'm pretty sure it wasn't featured on there anymore because it kind of fell apart. It got to the point where they were asking Clement to turn up on broadcast without him like having an agreement with them. So it's like he didn't even have a contract, and he's like, well, I can't. So because they had been so delayed with it, and because the casters like Riku and Clement, they hadn't heard any word about that, so they were like, well, what the hell do we do with this? So I think basically after that point, they were no longer on broadcast, and it shifted to this New Zealand-based studio, which with different casters who had not been on it before. Now, I actually don't know those casters personally, and I hope they're doing well, but I feel really bad for the PCS talent that were there beforehand, because I really liked a lot of the PCS casters, and the OS casters too. So I hope that with this change, maybe there is a small victory to be found in... some more broadcast opportunities at a higher level to broadcast this. I hope that is a thing.
If I'm honest, if I'm not totally honest, like on paper, it could be a great thing, because I'm just looking at VCT Pacific, where there are all these different broadcasts. There's all like VCT Pacific has obviously the Japanese broadcast that I was watching the most. Huge names there who became famous thanks to Valorant. Really good casters, really good hosts. There's this big production behind it, and it is great. Teams also putting in a lot of efforts. Both DFM and Zeta had amazing content, all like really good content. So it's like it can work to a degree. But my problem comes when I'm just thinking about who can make it work. And so first of all, Riot Japan has to do some kind of content, has to do local, because like they actually mentioned in this article as well that they want to have like local fan bases or something. So it's on Riot Japan and the teams. And whew, in the last few years, honestly, I'm not necessarily trusting either of them. They haven't done a great job to just, like, basically gain fandom. Nor in Japan, nor in international. The FM had, like, some tries. Like, they, for example, like, their 2021 video, they translated to English.
Yeah.
They sometimes do, like, these vlogs.
But this is a huge problem in general in terms of, like, okay, so now you have... This is the problem with the GPL, folks, way back in the day. So if you look at PCS now, you have English-speaking OS, which is in Australia, New Zealand, and a number of other very like prominent English-speaking nations. You have Japan, which is obviously Japanese, and then you have the PCS, which is Taiwan and Hong Kong, which is like.
Even then, there's two. There's Mandarin and Cantonese.
Yeah, there's Mandarin and Cantonese.
They're gonna do both.
So now, okay. Put it this way: I'm going to put you, dear viewer, into the position of trying to plan broadcasting content for the next year for this combined region. Now, it's obviously okay for the regional matches to an extent, but you have to make a series of decisions. Are you going to provide other language content for the regions, for these regions, which then will feed into the larger playoffs? So, for instance, if you are a PCS fan, like PCS is in like Taiwan and Hong Kong, are you going to provide their language coverage for the LJL and OS? If you're an OS fan, are you going to provide English content for LJL and the rest of the PCS, so then you can build all of this together into playoffs? I don't think you will, because that's going to have to be 3-4 broadcast partners for each individual region, which means that already you are behind on trying to build up larger playoffs pictures and larger storyline pictures to make this into an actual Super League. If you want to make this into a Super League, you actually need to have the resources to like cover this to the extent it needs to. You're going to get to a point then when it gets into the main playoffs where presumably you'll want a broadcast for each individual language. How are you going to do that with all of these resources? It feels like you are just setting yourself up to have huge broadcasting costs for a region which is not going to bring huge viewership because the marketing isn't there. And the reason the marketing isn't there is because the problem that GPL had, which is you're trying to combine so many different cultures over such a geographical spread. It is very hard to have a unifying theme which brings people into your product. Like, it is really, really difficult to like broadcast and promote content for this. It's really difficult. How would you do that? Because I don't know how I'd do that. You'd need a lot more resources than they'll have.
I mean, how I would do that, I would do what I do so far. I would just translate. But,
yeah, but that won't be an official broadcast which they can put on their websites. And it's the same. We did that for LJL. We did that for LJL. We did the LJL official. But you know that was done. That was done without kind of partnership with Riot, so they can't necessarily endorse that, right? Now, and I'm sure that would be very useful to them. But I mean, I don't even think the English co-streaming for these regions is basically none. You're not going to have English co-streams. Yeah. You're not going to have the big, big co-streamers.
What's in the chat as well? How is in VCT Pacific? I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can do that. Like, VCT Pacific.
They have a lot more resources.
Doing that.
So many more resources.
VCT Pacific is really, really good. But yeah, like the resources that are going into Valorant. And like you have to like kind of like put it in perspective, like what is Valorant in Japan? Like VCG, which is like a tier 2 system. It's like below VCT Pacific, like what's feeding into Ascension tournament, etc. So that's like a tier 2 system in Japan. VCT Japan is basically Riot was actually very smart about that. They not only themselves are the ones who are doing that. So they contracted a third-party event organizer called Rage, who was already doing Valorant tournaments before VCT Pacific came around. So they were doing, like, they partnered with Rage. Rage is the company who organized massive, like, huge tournaments, like bigger stadiums, absolutely packed in Japan before, just for Valorant. And this is the same organization who was doing exactly the same thing now. You also have to realize that Riot, I think last year, has partnered with the biggest advertisement agency in Japan, and they don't even talk about, like in the post when they announced, they don't even talk about League of Legends. They're just Valorant.
No, they don't care about
just Valorant. And finally, when you turn into VCG, first of all, this is literally the biggest tier 2. Like, it's even bigger than North America, which is the second one. It's even bigger than the North American tier 2 Valorant system. And the sponsor reads, I'm not even kidding, half an hour before each match, half an hour just sponsor reads. They're showing off their sponsors. They have so many sponsors. It's very easy to get local sponsors as well. It's much easier than like in Europe when you have like all these different countries.
Yeah, so the reason for that, just chiming in, is effectively when you are advertising for the entirety of Europe, if you're getting very local sponsors, like you need to get overall European sponsors. Whereas if you are a single language, as opposed to going across Europe, where you have to advertise to obviously the English-speaking parts of it, the German, the French, the Spanish, the Italian parts of it. The Nordics as well, with different languages there. You need to get overall region sponsors, which there are much fewer of, because you need to have like big companies to do that. Whereas if you're doing it to Japan, they have much smaller sponsors, which would still qualify, because it's all Japanese speaking. They all get to advertise in the same language to the same group.
Yep. So you have these huge sponsors in Japan,
exactly,
and basically you have this massive Valorant scene because of that. A lot of money put into Valorant because of that huge events. Like Riot Games 1 is gonna happen, I think like in a few days, December 2, I think, as far as I remember. Riot Games 1, which is like a huge, it's kind of like BlizzCon, but for Riot Games in Japan. And there is gonna be like a League of Legends event, which is the biggest community event for League of Legends, which is hype. It's gonna be hype.
Now,
but, it's mostly Valorant.
No.
So when you have this much money put into Valorant, obviously you're gonna have Valorant. Also, there are so many Valorant podcasts translated into Japanese. Just every single content is translated into Japanese about Valorant. And also because Valorant is so popular in Japan, whatever content Japan makes about Valorant, that also gets translated into other languages because they are also interested in what's happening in Japan. So they want to read what's happening there. Because of that, there is demand for it. They get resources. So it's kind of like, because there is demand from both sides, Japan is interested in what is happening outside in other Valorant leagues, and other Valorant leagues also interested in what's happening in Japan. That's why Pacific is getting so much resource, and that's why it's working. And yeah, that's gonna be really hard to do in this like PCS format.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a big point which JCube is again pointing out on chat. This is so what we were talking about in regards to those sponsors is exactly the reason why the NLC failed in Europe in the ERLs. And as much as they're trying to bring things back up with Leagues GG as a new tournament operator and stuff like this, the NLC is a failed product. It is a huge money sink, and they don't know how to get partners for it because what the NLC is in the ERLs, for those of you that don't follow like the tier 2 European scene, it is the UK, it is the Nordics, it is Ireland, it is Malta as well. And effectively what that means is that you have like 8 or 9 different language coverage, and you're not going to get companies which just cover this arbitrary region, which is exactly the same as this Pacific League. It is an arbitrary region. It's not a geopolitical group. It's not a European Union. It's not a continental group or something like that. What you have is an arbitrary group determined by your own tournament operator needs. And what that means is that you're not going to get sponsors which cover specifically that area. You're going to have a very awkward point where, as you were just saying in regards to, okay, well, how do you get someone to advertise in Tokyo and Taipei and Sydney and the rest of the OS and stuff like that? You have to either convince a sponsor to sponsor your stream, which will not cover the entirety of the region. So for instance, there's something like this with like the State Farm Analyst Desk at Worlds. Like, it's a big sponsor, don't get me wrong, but in terms of what they are doing, they are not going to get a return on that in regards to everywhere that they're advertising to you. I'm never going to use State Farm. It's not relevant to me. In the same way that in the NLC, British Telecom might be a sponsor for whatever, but British Telecom is not going to work in the Nordics or in Ireland or something like that. So you are going to have to then punch upwards and get to the point where you have huge amounts of, like, huge sponsors, and you don't have the product in the PCS to bring in that level of sponsor. Not really. Especially from if you have financial issues already. You're not going to convince like big sponsors to come into a financially struggling league. So this is partly why the GPL failed as well. And I know that was Garena stuff. But still, it's not a helping factor. So then you have to have problems of how do you market a broadcast to multiple different cultures like that? How do you convince sponsors about that? And how do you then bring that to it? The way that you would like to make this work is by having really good international results and then bringing that back down to the local level. But because there is no international kind of like awareness of minor regions besides like a couple of things around like MSI and Worlds, and until you get those 2 moments and you don't have the structure to support these minor regions through the year, you are completely dead in the water. It's really hard.
Yeah, and also, I know it has been a topic for quite a while. I have heard it from multiple personalities, but I think like one way that it could be solved to some degree is just have local sponsors. Like, this is like something that I know it's not really, I don't think any Riot tier 1 esport is doing this, but like for example, the Japanese PCS stream could have different sponsors than the
that's a problem
Cantonese.
though, because then you have to be different companies. You have to be different. That's more of a business thing, because if it's the same overhead, then you need to be effectively separated companies, which is very difficult. Coca-Cola, etc., couldn't be targeted. If you are financially struggling as a region, you are not going to be able to like convince them to join. Now, we've had Coca-Cola as a global sponsor before and MasterCard and stuff like that, but being able to retain that for a region which goes across so many different cultures and then is not financially doing very well, that could be an issue. So, yeah. So you need to have very good partnership, people in charge of partnerships. I don't know who will be in charge of that, but like, good luck, partnership operator people.
And also, while I'm not into the business side, so anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think, like, for example, Coca-Cola sponsoring PCS is necessarily that much. Like, they know that this is a very divided region, so while there is Coca-Cola everywhere, so much more worth. For example, I have keyboard called Vimilo, which is, I love this keyboard, and I saw this keyboard on the VCG broadcast, and this is the perfect keyboard that I was looking for, because it has a Japanese layout. It's a very good mechanical keyboard that I can customize, and this is literally like, I was watching the Japanese broadcast, and this was for me. Like, this is very exactly what I was looking for. But if, for example, I don't think there is like this kind of connection with the whole global brands. For example, Coca-Cola, if sponsors something, probably most people know about that. So local sponsors, I would assume worth more, like to them, to just like, if you put up something, you know that people are gonna be looking for that because it's talks to them basically. But I don't know how much. Like I don't know what is the difference between that. I can just imagine that all those VCG sponsors who are Japanese brands, those worth a lot more in some sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and also another thing too. So this is going to be a huge thing. This is, as you just said, this is a very short turnaround. When was this decided? You know, within the last week, folks. Realistically, or rather, the decision was made in
November
the last
20.
week.
November 20 was the meeting.
Yep. So
I don't have
was the
exact
meeting.
information if the meeting already decided on what's happening or it was later. But I know November 20 is when teams first heard about this. Like, hey, we are. I mean, they kind of knew. Like there were
so that's
about
one
this
thing.
last
But
year
basically,
well,
it's short.
20.
It's recently. How the hell are you going to have a turnaround in like a month and a half to when this league will start? How are you going to have that turnaround to then convince sponsors to join your league? You know, these things can take a long time to work out, especially if it is something which is very tricky, going across multiple regions, multiple languages, something like that. Legit, how are you meant to be doing this in that kind of time span? That's genuinely very, very difficult. I think that they've put themselves at a very difficult point for trying to, in terms of time span. Heck, I feel like coverage of bigger events like playoffs may die a lot, considering the big region, Tokyo, Taipei, Singapore, Sydney are in the same league region. Means that there are just no big events, since I don't know how 3 leagues are going to organize playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine a lot of this will be held PCS home turf. It depends where the tournament organizer is. If they have a studio already, they'll just use the studio.
Actually, I don't know about this one, but like, did those play from Taiwan?
I'm pretty sure at playoffs they flew out there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure actually. Let me check. You know what we can do? We can.
The playoff one. that's something that I worry about less. I think playoffs.
I actually think playoffs. Yeah, I think that's fine. And also, like, being able to travel to events is okay. That's fine. I actually don't mind that too much.
My main issue is everything that leads up to that, because from what we heard just now, if it's true, then teams will be playing, for example, for like a first place team who's standing first place in regular season and win. Let's say DFM ends regular season with undefeated record. They played 5 best of 3s. Then in the playoffs, if they run the same like a juggernaut bracket, then they're gonna play 2 best of 5s. They played literally 7 games, and they're flying out to play.
So this isn't a team house they're playing from. So I assume they're playing on location wherever that is. I presume that is. I'm just watching the VOD here. They're not playing from a team house.
They can rent stadiums.
I don't think it's a stadium, but yeah.
No, not this one.
Yeah, this is when Team Bliss were playing, because obviously they didn't make it that far. Chiefs. What about Chiefs?
They did say that they want PCS playoffs to be huge. So I mean, if they would do it in a stadium as like, hey, let's kickstart this, then that would be great.
Hey, see you, Lep. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, so they're playing on location. This isn't like remote cameras. So this is like.
Oh, that's definitely, yeah.
It's just so yeah. So they would be playing on location. I would imagine, folks. They'll be playing on location.
I also like once again in my video I mentioned that I would love if teams would like there are just so many opportunities. Like that's the worst thing about this, honestly, because I see so many opportunities. Like if I were, I mean, obviously it's not just that because of money, etc. But if I were in charge of a team who makes it to the PCS playoffs, vlog, just vlog it. Like you saw how many interactions Abby got whenever he was doing the Shokurepo.
Hey, you know, I did a very, well, it wasn't a vlog, but I did a shit post from when I went out to LPL. Yeah, I needed to do more of that. I have a load of short videos. I meant to cut it into a proper thing.
Well, I'm same. When I went to Montpellier, I was like, okay, I'm gonna vlog out of this. I still haven't edited ever since. I don't think I'm gonna now. But yeah, for like these interactions, like Abby's food vlogs, like that was, my god, that so many interactions on Twitter. Like so many people just like, it's not even much. Like he got the food, talked about it for 2 minutes, uploaded it on Twitter, not even edited, nothing. And it's got thousands of interactions because it was just, hey, it's the player is not playing games. That's literally it. So many fans just want to say the player is not playing games. Just do something, anything else. So there's so many opportunities here. it just, oh, yeah, it's so hard because if the 3 teams are just gonna go to Taiwan or wherever the playoffs gonna be and not doing any content about it, and let's just say they bomb out, I'm like, how is this different? How is this different? Like,
Hey, honey.
treat it as an international tournament then.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how you that's the potential of the product, where you have a huge amount of very different teams coming from very different places going towards a great tournament, which is kind of like it's not worlds, but it's kind of like the next best thing in terms of international representation.
Our worlds.
Yeah, this is our worlds. And I'm like, so actually, funnily enough, I had, so in regards to kind of extra international competition, there's a problem with teams not having this next level of competition. What I would do this PCS playoffs format for is for seeding. I would do this so it's not necessarily qualifying for worlds, or maybe it does determine, so actually I had another idea for this in terms of, you have like your VCS, PCS, LJL, OS, and what the winners of that do is determine who gets the second seed for worlds. Or something like that. But what it ends up doing as well is determining the seeding for MSI and Worlds, because minor regions often were teams that would peak for 1 year because they had multi-year plans, and then they fall off the next when they can't keep their roster together or the meta changes significantly, which means that often at Worlds and MSI, you have a big problem with minor regions being correctly seeded. And you have teams like, you know, I think it was last year, when LJL had come off of their 2021, they were for some reason still in like the lower bracket. Like the lowest possible pool, and it was like, well, okay, that's obviously not great. So what you could do with a playoff system like this, and you could do the same thing for CBLOL and LATAM and stuff like that, you could divvy up one way or another. You have like a Western Conference and an Eastern Conference, and you figure out what the seeding will be between them. That'd be a great way to do this, but it doesn't have to necessarily be the killer of removing OS and LGL likely from international like exposure.
I think rather than sitting there slowly wanna move on to like this like LCQs. I mean they WQS.
Yeah, World Qualifying Series. Yeah.
WQS. Yeah, because they also said in the announcement post that we want to expand it. They explicitly said that we want to expand it as time goes on. So I think like, because also I'm gonna be honest, like fighting for seeding is not as exciting for a viewer as fighting for like getting somewhere, you know, like fighting
if it's an extra tournament. I think if it's an extra tournament, I think it's big, because the problem with Rift Rivals is that there was no stakes at all. Having like an extra seed for Worlds or seeding, I think that is actually more stakes. So yeah, I agree. I think that in regards to like, yeah, if it was seeding in place of, you know, like it's just like, oh, we've just qualified our team for Worlds. Now let's find out what seeds there are. No, that's different. If it's like you're qualifying for seeding, like you're fighting for seeding and then maybe an extra seed, and then you go on and qualify after that point, that could be pretty big. That would be my idea for it.
Yeah. And also, as I said before, I'm gonna be, I don't know if it's true or not, but I have this little hunch that they, like that like little line that like one team goes to MSI, 2 teams go to Worlds. I have a feeling there's a reason they're saying that WQS is not part of Worlds, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And they have to do something because there's now...
That's true, because
like,
if it was like, oh, there are 2 teams which go to Worlds, but then one goes to the Worlds qualifying series as well, that's actually separate and it's not invalidated by that first line. You're right, yeah.
I can totally see the third seed from here going to WQS. Because, again, like, I think like that's the most logical choice. Give WQS another seed. Because like they have a seat because of numbers. You have to give this seat to someone. You have to someone, or just make a weird group like in a 2020 or 2021. Well, 2021, yeah. But I think they're just gonna give it to someone, probably WQS.
Yeah. I mean, I just really hope that they don't take the LJL seed and give it to NA. I just really hope they don't do that, because I actually think World's qualifying series between like NA and EU, that was good. I actually didn't mind that. I mean, that was a problem logistically because you had BDS not being able to scrim anyone and then like having to fly into Korea late. They initially wanted to hold the World's qualifying series in what do you mean by W? What, Jonas? Do you have a source for that? Do you have a source that WCS is cancelled? Are you just speculating that, or is that actually a thing? Because that'd be huge if you actually did have a source for that. But
I mean, even if they talked about this, literally, like Even
they
if
might
they
change
talk
it for
about
next
this, it's
year,
also important if they talked about this before or after.
Pretty sure the Four Horsemen talked about it yesterday.
Did they know about the...
No, but did they have a... Yeah, was that like a speculation or was that a source thing? Because I really don't want to just like keep parroting things. Because, but yeah, I mean...
But also another thing is like, I mean, I heard about this whole thing, I think... Well, I don't know when I posted about it. I think it was around like 23rd. I think 23rd was the first time I heard about it. But I heard about it from Valorant people. It was really not talked about in the League of Legends scene. Because League of Legends is not popular. But I heard about it from Valorant people. So... It also could be just League of Legends. People don't even really know about it. Or don't care. Don't know. One of them. So yeah, it's also important, man. I think it would be weird giving NA 4 seeds just because like this little half of the league now.
Yeah, but so I think what we're coming to... What we're coming to know... This happened in the ERL, so we kind of saw this there too. This kind of like highlighted a bit more of the... Or it kind of brought to light a little bit more of how the seeding goes. A lot of seeding is actually more on financial stability rather than it is about performance. If it was on performance, you know, like, we wouldn't have the seeding that we did right now. You'd have a lot more towards LPL, a lot more towards LCK. This is basically about financial stability and like financial return at international events, because you actually do get a fair amount from having NA and EU at, you know, Worlds events from the regions that they're in. But because, like, so for instance, in the ERLs, when NLC dropped, it wasn't because NLC was having bad financial performances, in fact, bad competitive performances. It's because they didn't have the financials, because it was a mishandled league. LMS would have risen to major region status if it was purely performance-based. It was pretty close between them and NA. I think NA technically had better performances than them overall. I mean, guys, I don't think NA should be a minor region. They are better than minor regions. And you look at how NRG got through to knockouts over G2 as well. That's a huge result for them too. Don't get me wrong, VCS knocking down an NA team and an EU team and shit like that too. Like, beating those teams on the way, that was huge. Don't get me wrong. But like, on the whole, NA is still a much better consistent region than the minor regions. So.
Yeah. Also, NA Source team is historically doing well as well. Like C9 a lot of times were...
Clutch was okay, but then they got the group adapt. They got through play-ins easy.
Mostly it's very hard to like draw conclusions because this is the first year we had Swiss. So before that, we couldn't really do because there were a group of that. Like if you had three really good teams in one group,
one of them has to go out.
Like really?
Yeah.
We just had 1 year Swiss, so. Yeah, it would be really weird. I think it's fine if for the 4th seed is in WQS, because also like just like if NA is having 8 teams, that means the playoffs is most likely gonna be 6 teams.
Yeah, but then if you have to have like 4 seeds technically going, well, I mean, if third through first are going to Worlds Direct and then 4th is Worlds Qualifying Series, like the majority of your playoffs is going international, folks.
The thing is, like, I think, I mean, they could do probably different formats, but like, I'm pretty sure if they have 6 teams in playoffs, that means that basically, I think they would have the same problem as EU had with the Mad Lions. I'm not sure, I can't do math in my head, but maybe just like they need to win 1 BO5. There's a possibility that the team could get to, not Worlds, but would get to Worlds if Force was going to Worlds without winning a BO5.
Yeah.
But I think like if it was just WQS, it's fine. Like I would be like, if a team gets WQS without winning a BO5, I would say that's, I would be like fine with it, because if then they win WQS, they deserved it. So I don't know, this just seems more fine for me.
Okay, so like overall, I mean, I think this is a hugely risky move. I think this is trying to cut losses on... I actually don't know why this is... I would imagine this move is being taken because of LJL financial issues. I'd imagine that's got to be the case, because I don't think the LJL teams are like financially doing fantastically well. At least the bottom teams aren't.
Yeah, bottoms no. I mean...
But this really again raises the question of why is a region like the LJL gone through into like a solid so it's not necessarily a franchise in the way that EU and NA is, right? Where I mean it technically is, right? Because you have the same teams. You don't have promotion relegation, so it is franchise. You have a stable roster of organizations, so they're not going to be like promoting and relegating. The reason that they leave is because they are bought or sold in terms of slots rather than anything else. Why is that the case if you have lower teams which cannot hold their own within financially? If you can't stand like that, why didn't we just have promotion relegation all this time? You know, why didn't we have that, folks? That would have... It feels like franchising has driven another region into a really difficult spot. I genuinely don't get why we don't have promotion relegation for the LJL, even though it's not like the same kind of level of franchise.
Especially when it's working so well for the VCT. I'm not sure if how... I don't... You don't...
That's the Ascension system, right? Is that Ascension?
Yeah, you don't watch Valorant, right?
Bits and pieces, but not like... I don't... I watch it because it's fun, not because I understand it.
Oh, so in the Japanese scene, basically what happens... And they're just like, I think most scenes happening like this, but I know the Japanese one the most. So you have, first of all, you have open qualifiers.
Yep.
Absolutely open qualifiers. And actually, this is actually so cool. For next year, what Valorant, like the whole game did, is basically Valorant's equivalent of a Clash. It's called Premier there.
Right.
Basically, you have like this like Clash, kind of like what was Clash in League. So you join in with your 5 friends, and if you get first, you get seeded into open qualifier. So it's not even like you don't have to do anything. If you have,
so that was kind of like
that
was always like ranked teams back then.
yeah. Just is directly seeded into open qualifiers. So if you and your 4 friends are really good, you get into open qualifiers, and then open qualifiers you play like a bunch of games to get into the different splits of like split relegations, like tier 2 split relegations into VCG. And if you and your 4 friends are really good in Valorant and just queuing up on a Clash and you win Clash, you win Clash a lot, and you're one of the best teams in Japan who win Clash, and then you get to go to open qualifier. You get to go, if you win that one, to VCG, and you get to go from there to Ascension, which is like the best VCG team against like the other from the Pacific region. Like this year, I think I think an Indonesian team won, but I'm not sure. I know it's called Bleed Esport. I'm not sure where they are from, but this like there are Indonesian teams. Thai teams, like a bunch of different Pacific region teams. You play with them, and if you win that one, you're in VCT. And there is a path. There is a very, very straight path from just playing with your friends in your client at your home.
Yeah.
Absolutely no resources to getting into VCT. And obviously, it's very unlikely that it's gonna happen. But just the feeling that there is a path is gonna be such a huge motivator for so many people. And this is the thing that I really, really miss in League of Legends, because this is what makes like those VCG events, like the VCG finals, like tier 2 Japanese Valorant finals.
Yeah.
Massive stadiums, sold out, absolutely sold out, massive audiences, because like you can relate to those people. They came out from the same way you can. You see those people playing, and obviously there's a way. You know that if they win, they can get to the next stage. If they win, they can get to the next stage. And that's a massive motivator for both of you as a player.
So to kind of address what's happening, like with some of the things in chat saying like, okay, well, how do you get sponsors with promotion relegation? What I am saying is, if you're already financially not able to hold your own in franchising, then the franchising model also doesn't work. What you then expect is to have less money in the system overall, but you have more motivated teams which can put together rosters which will peak for that year. So while there would be less money in that system, the promotion relegation allows you to have like a Rocks Tigers experience, or to have something more like that UOL experience, where you have rosters which make it work without the resources, because they have found themselves a position to do that in. It means that your bottom table teams are not just going to like bottom feed off the league, where they're sat there in franchising getting minimal returns but not putting anything into it either, because they don't have the finances to do so. So basically, you take the L for the bottom tier teams and just say, well, okay, you're not going to have the finances anyway, and you then go back towards promotion relegation to say, well, yeah, it will be harder to get sponsors in that regards, but you're going to have better teams and a better level of competition if you can't provide that with a franchising model and the quote-unquote stability that it's meant to bring to you. So that would be my argument for why LJL, if it already can't hold its own financially for the bottom tier teams, should maybe go towards that.
And also, there's not technically promotion relegation. And this is like the biggest sell. Like that's why Valorant teams are able to have so many sponsors, because it's not technically promotion relegation, how the Valorant model works. And actually it's like brought up a lot that they want to have, the fans really want, and Riot is considering having it in the LCS as well. How this works is there are partner teams. In Valorant there are 10, in LCS, in this hypothetical scenario, there will be like 8. But in Valorant, there are 10 partner teams. Your Fanatics, your C9s, like there's like big names who wanna be in the league, who are committed to the league. They wanna be in there. So you have 10 teams, and you have 2 so-called ascension spots, which is rotating.
Okay, so then you have the 2 remaining ones are the ones which are kind of like your flash in the pan teams, which have worked well this year and made it through the system. That's actually not bad. I didn't realize that's how it worked. That's good. I like that actually. Yeah.
So if you're a Fnatic, for example, Fnatic is one of the biggest teams in the EMEA in the Valorant. They can't be relegated, even if they bottom up, even if they end absolutely lost, not even winning a single map, they still can't be eliminated. And even the teams who got into can't be immediately eliminated, so it's not like a team just gets there. And obviously, if you're coming from a tier below, it's gonna need a little time for you to get there. So what happens is when you get to the league through Ascension, you get your spot for 2 years. So for example, G2. Actually, it's a very complicated scenario in NA, but like there's a team that in the end G2 acquired. So G2 now in North America has the Valorant spot for 2 years. For the next one in the one after. We don't really know what happens after. They didn't really talk about this, but I would assume they can fight afterwards. Like after 2 years, I don't think they would be just out. I think they can fight for that spot. But you have your spot secured for 2 years, and this is like basically something between them. You get some stability to the teams. It's not like, hey, you're in for one split and then you can be out. You can get sponsors. You know you're gonna be there for at least 2 years, but also it's somewhat of a promotion relegation. You still have up-and-coming teams who have this motivation to get into the league. It's still possible for them. So I think it's like the best of both worlds. The criticism it gets mostly is the time frame, because you take like 1 year. For example, in all the Pacific Ascension leagues, only one team qualifies per year. So this is like the biggest issue that in the Valorant scene people are complaining about. But it's definitely like a better system than just franchise.
Yeah, because so I'm not necessarily asking for. So I mean, there was a comment earlier which was saying that I would favor greater level of volatility and forcing teams to be more financially savvy while sacrificing financial stability, attractiveness. Well, what I would be saying is actually the financial stability isn't there actually. So you have teams which are already completely bombing out. You have teams which want to sell their spots in franchising the world over. Bottom tier teams in franchising do not benefit from franchising. So having like a half franchise system, I can understand that actually, where you have a set of teams which are partner teams which will always be there. I actually don't mind that. And then you have effectively, you have relegation for the teams which financially cannot stand to be in a franchise.
And also, I mean, it's very recent. I think yesterday, I think it was Richard Lewis who said it. But basically, one of the reasons that Golden Guardians got out from the LCS, like apparently, obviously we don't know the exact reason, but one of the supposed reason is that because they realized that basically owning a spot right now is not necessarily worth this model. Having a spot for tens of millions of dollars is not necessarily worth. Instead, if they get out now, and in the future they actually see esports getting big, they can get into the partner system anytime they want. It's a lot more lucrative for teams in this partner system.
Much less risk. Much less risk as well. Like they can be opportunistic about it at that point. They don't have to bet on something working in franchising in a year or a couple of years. They can just hop in when they think the market feels like it's in a safer place. But I mean, at the end of the day, all of that stuff is a lot of future stuff, and obviously we don't know what exactly is going to happen with the PCS plus system as well. What we already know is that the teams are already financially hurting from this decision because of the Riot stipend going down. Obviously, that won't really affect a team like DFM, Sengoku, or Hawks because they have such huge partners at the top end. Fennel, we've heard potentially are bombing.
Fennel and CJ.
They're potentially bombing out.
And I'm hearing it from more and more sources, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Fennel are a team that have only been in here for, 2 years now? 22, 23? Was it this year or last year when they changed? It might have been this year.
I think this year they've
been in for 1 year, folks. They've been in for 1 year.
That was a little bit different because, as I said, they didn't buy the spot. They acquired a company that owned the spot.
I'm not gonna lie, that ends up kind of being worse because they've acquired it for less cost that way, and they still only stayed for 1 year. That's actually worse in some ways, where they say actually,
they didn't care. Yeah,
exactly. They one, don't care about it, and two, see no value about keeping it. So they're just gonna leave. They're just gonna leave. That's actually even worse. The spot which was held by the first champions of the LJL, Rascal Jester, one of the most long-lived orgs within minor region League of Legends, has just like completely disappeared now. So yeah, I mean, It's
in
a
their
huge
eyes,
issue,
just...
like for some of the bottom teams, the teams which, and apparently not even the bottom teams. Finland weren't a bottom team; they're actually a top tier team. In the context of the LJL.
I mean, for them, it's very obvious. Like, if you just follow that Twitter, if you just follow their journey, it's very obvious. They acquired Galleria, which is like a very, very big computer brand, like pre-built computer brand in Japan. So they acquired them. With them, Brasco Jester, they had some teams, but ever since entering Valorant, like Fennel is one of the biggest tier 2 Valorant teams. They are massive in Valorant. So ever since acquiring the Valorant team, ever since acquiring very big streamers, it was like they'd never posted about LJL ever again. So it is very obvious that they kind of just, yeah, this is over. Let's move on to the next one.
Right. Well, I don't know if there's anything we haven't covered yet. Obviously, I mean, we've said that some players have retired. A lot of them have gone free agents, but that's standard. We'll see what happens with their contracts. I'd imagine a lot of player contract value is going to go down because these teams with the new formats and the risk of less international exposure. And hey Masson, Lexi, how's it going? But yeah, I would imagine that a lot of player contracts are going to go down. The operating costs of teams will have to go down because they're going to have less money coming in from riots. You are going to have potentially issues as well, which is something that we've said about the LGL. I mean, this is a pro and a con. You're going to have more teams have on-stage experience versus international teams, but it's just not going to be at Worlds and MSI. Because you're going to have more teams, obviously 3 LGL teams going in spring and summer to play against PCS and OS teams for both spring and summer playoffs, which means that you're going to have more teams have more experience at a higher level than they were, at the cost of potentially having the top end of that experience being cut off, where you don't get teams going through to MSI and Worlds. Now, we'll see, because LGL has typically done okay in regards to PCS second seed, but this year has obviously gone down.
Let's see it.
But the problem... But the problem is, for me, is that if you're going to have a massive financial hit going into this next year, are you going to be able to support teams which can beat PCS2 and go international for World? You're definitely not getting MSI, because PSG is going to rail you. They're going to absolutely rail you. So you're missing out on one international competition, which is typically where you get your scrim bucks from and your scrim data to then kind of carry that through to Worlds. Even if you get demolished in MSI, that can allow you to do better later season at Worlds. So sadly, I think LJL is probably not going to be an international competitor again. I don't think you're going to be able to have a team go to MSI, learn from their failings, and go back to Worlds and then make something good happen there. Because that's typically how minor region teams work.
Just like a little thing, like a little positive note, is first of all, it's gonna all depend on like how well this whole thing is gonna be handled. Because I'm gonna be honest, I think Worlds had like a pretty good coverage generally. Is like regards to the LJL, like not necessarily like the English side, but I think most content were translated to Japanese. Like the Japanese scene could watch Worlds. I think that part was covered. So if they're gonna bring that over to pieces, and as I said before, there's gonna be our Worlds, and they're gonna produce content for the Japanese community as well for this tournament, I think that's gonna be fine. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. And I think, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's difficult, right?
Because I think that was something I wanted to say.
Yeah, but I think the problem here is, right, I think that actually LJL has actually had teams with multiple year plans make things work out. I think it's very hard to make those kind of plans now.
Oh, I know what I wanted to say.
Yeah?
I think something that maybe so many things are gonna happen on the first year. So many things are gonna be depending on that, because I think like just like deducting, MSI should be in China, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily decided.
I mean, so we had Europe MSI, we had Korea Worlds. What happened the year before that? We had Worlds in
Europe, cancel Europe, a lot of them. Then
no, what about
Korea.
Worlds 22? What was Worlds 22? Was that
NA?
That was NA. Worlds and MSI 22 was, I can't remember when that was actually.
Korea.
That's great. Okay, so we haven't had a Chinese event for a while. Yeah, that would make sense. Especially if Worlds Finals is going to be Europe, that would make sense, yeah.
Yeah. So I think like if MSI is in China,
Worlds Finals is London this year, Jinkyu.
Yeah. So if MSI is in China, at least, even if a Japanese team is not getting it to MSI, at least you can have a screen partners. I think that's somewhat of a little, like, it's kind of like, not bad, you know? It's gonna be like a tiny bit of happiness that you're gonna be able to scream MSI teams. And then, yeah, we're gonna see how many seeds there are gonna be, how it's gonna go, but yeah, I think it's gonna be up on the first year. If LJL does well...
We'll see. I mean, the problem... So the thing is, so Lexi, I agree for the LGL on the whole, you're going to have a lot of teams which just cannot spend the money and the resources to have teams which will compete well enough in PCS to then go internationally because they finish second seed or higher. Because you need to get second seed, right? You need to get to finals. Fully expecting LGL to be cut back down to 6 teams in a few years. So from what Hina's saying from leaks, we might have that this year. From what we're hearing, CGA and Fennel might be dropping. So that's one thing. I think what you're looking for the LGL is basically which teams, but like...
I just realized.
Yeah.
It's almost confirmed at this point because every other team at this point in some form or not confirmed that they're either building teams or acknowledged the news except them.
Yeah. So what you are looking at from LGL is not necessarily, and this is basically how the LGL's gone for a while anyways. This is not, hey, see you, Jiku. What you're going to see is most of the league drop performance like a bag of bricks. Because you're going to have teams like, you know, Burning Core, Axis V3 that cannot field competitive rosters. Not with the results that they have. What you are hoping is that DFM, Hawks, and...
plan?
Hang on, let me just finish this first. So when you see DFM, Hawks, Sengoku, we know that Fennel's going, but particularly DFM, Sengoku, and Hawks, you're hoping that they bear the brunt of this change just on their own backs and their sponsors will carry them through, that they can, for the next year, punch above their weight financially and make something happen at PCS level. That's what you're really hoping for, because that's the only way we're going to have something to happen in the PCS. That basically, they look at the financial change and say, well, screw it, we got to have good performances too. And they basically all in, because they need those performances to justify their continuation as orgs. That's going to have to be the big thing. But yeah, the V3 plan, what were you talking about with that?
Yeah, so Axis may actually do something in this league because, I mean, Axis is owned by AX Entertainment. I'm not sure.
Oh, Axis is not V3, right?
Yeah. So Axis is owned by AX Entertainment, which is a huge company. It's like they could have the money. Obviously, it's like very different when you're owned by a company. Like, not gonna give you an infinite amount of money.
Yep.
But it's like the company itself is definitely like stable. It's a stable company. And Axis had a post. If you go to their Twitter, I'm just in Japanese, but it's I think they have English points as well. If you go to their Twitter, they had a post about their long-term plan into 2026. And among those things, there are a lot of interesting stuff.
Which post was this? Where was this?
Could be just I think the first, or not sure. Maybe it was Kobayashi, their CEO.
Right.
Oh, it was their CEO then who tweeted it out. I have it actually on the. I can very quickly pull this up because I have it on. I just looked it up for this other post. Okay, there it is.
That's a point, Lexi. Actually, that's a point, actually, Lexi, as well. With the hits to DFM's kind of reputation this year, there's a chance that they struggle more financially with this too. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. On Discord.
This is all on in Japanese. So we put into words the vision that Axis will aim for over the next 3 years. I'm looking for like-minded people. So they're basically doing a hiring statement for performance development. Is this what they're saying? Is this basically a hiring list or what?
Just I mean, you can each of their own. You can decide how much do you think it is just PR? How much do you think they actually put their actual thoughts into that? Basically, performance. I just want to very quickly say, like, performance is what are their aims for 2026? Their aim is to be a regular team at the international tournament, which is, by the way, now it's easier, I guess, to a degree.
If you're counting PCS playoffs, then yeah.
Yeah. So as for development, they want to develop Japanese players. Actually, Japanese. They want to develop those players. As for the carriers, they want for these players to, even after they retire, to be active in the league esports scene, like as coach and just like as a staff member. As for the style, literally said, they want to be the most stylish LJL team, whatever that means.
Is that going to be like, is that in playstyle or is that in merch?
I don't know if the logo is a step there or they also changed the logo. Yeah, but yeah, for the community, this is also interesting. They want to have this is what they say for the community. They want to have the most fan events. They want to have the most fan events in the LJL. As for diversity, they want to have obviously that diverse team, including nationality and gender.
Okay. That's a different goal for a lot of Japanese companies. That's not normally on the list for them, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, it sounds kind of like PR, but I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt because, like, they are a big company, so they...
That's true.
Like,
I do agree with what Lexi's saying in chat, though, where, like, Axes have not paid well for a great many years, folks. Like, Axes are not big spenders. So what this would have to be is a huge shift from Axes as a whole company.
But also, if you remember, I mean, they weren't the big spenders, but they brought up Megumin, for example. They brought up Hina. They had like a pretty good develop, like actually
21 Summer was insane for them. Yeah, 21 Summer was insane for them. But, like, a lot of that was through their coaching too. Like, they had like really good coaching reputation. They managed to get through to some pretty good points. They'd have really bad early splits, and then they kind of like turn it on once they have things after that point. But yeah, I mean, end of the day, what you now need to look for from the LJL is teams that will go basically bear the financial brunt and try and have a good performance. I think that's the way that LJL gets through this. You're hoping that DFM and a couple of the other top teams can make an impact in PCS playoffs, so LJL just doesn't slide down into non-international representation. Because, put it this way, when you go to Worlds Plans or MSI and stuff like that, the minor region team which people ask about the most are typically DFM. They're like one of the most popular, well-known teams at international events, which are not from a major region. Now, they don't always do well, for sure, don't get me wrong, but they are one of the most well-known ones. But the problem is that being a minor region team in the wider league ecosystem is so bloody hard. It's so hard. Because you get 2 chances to make things stick internationally per year. And it's done, the format changes have helped with that recently. Because when you look back to like 2019 or whatever, it's like, well, okay, you're going to have like 2 best of 1s and that's kind of it. Good luck, effectively. Or 2 best of 1s which actually mean anything. You look at like MSI from even 21 onwards and you're like, okay, so you're going to have 2 best of 1s versus like an LCK first seed or an LPL first seed. Good luck with that. Oh, by the way, you're now just fighting with the one other minor region to see which one of you gets the scraps from this. So, yeah, it's helped a little bit with that, but it hasn't changed the fact that you are not getting many opportunities to make an impact as a minor region team. You are given the absolute scraps of the international system to make an impact. It is very hard to like have a internationally notable year as a minor region team.
Yeah, and also just I really hope it's not only gonna be about Worlds and MSI. Because
there has to be something else.
I think it's just way too risky. Like, if you put all your eggs into the Worlds basket, it's just so risky. So much better to, like, because they're also not even gonna be all the 3 teams. Like, at least, even best case scenario, at least one LJL team is not gonna go there. So I just hope that they're actually gonna go through what the article said and making PCS playoffs like seem more like a tournament, which is they're kind of doing with the format. But I really hope it's like actually like renting stadiums, you know, making content like just when it starts. Like, even for PCS viewers, there are gonna be like 5 teams you probably haven't really heard about throughout the split. Like, it could be executed well. I'm just, I don't know.
It's been a day, folks. It's been a day. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in regards to LJL. Largely, sentiment is this is very, very dire straits for the LJL. There is potential upside, but I think the conversation which a lot of people have is saying that, oh, you're going to have the extra ability to play against PCS teams in playoffs. That's good for international competition, right? Well, you're not actually getting international exposure, particularly because PCS has no international footprint on the large community either. So I can't say we didn't see this coming to an extent. We heard rumors about this last year. There was a false report, though, last year about this happening, and of course that ended up being fake. Has happened this year, though. That's also a reminder, folks, that if you are trying to do journalism / leaky stuff, Make sure you check your facts, folks. Check your facts, because this stuff really, really changes stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and also just like when I said like the whole thing with the format stuff, that I haven't checked that. I just heard it from one source, so don't take this as. I heard from one source that it's gonna be the same format for this year, but I haven't checked it myself. So yeah, hope it changes. I hope that source is wrong.
Clip it and ship it, absolutely. Lexi, we should do an LJL podcast on this. We should get on the soapboxes again. We should do this properly, I guess. Probably be a good one to do. See if we got some time around. And I'm not doing exactly much else. Maybe we're gonna have the 4 horsemen of the LJL. But yeah, I think that the difference between LJL and LCO is against our heads. I think the difference between the LJL and the LCO joining into this is obviously we get 3 teams into the PCS playoffs, which is another team. And I think there are 3 teams that from this year I would say would do pretty well at a PCS kind of playoffs level. But you need to overcome PCS2. DFM got demolished by PCS2 at MSI. That was not a pretty experience for them. And of course, Worlds wasn't any better for them either, really. So, or rather, at the Worlds, they played, wait, was it PCS2? Yeah, it was PCS2 at Worlds, and then MSI was a different thing there. But, like, I think if you go back a year or two, you send the top 3 teams from LJL to PCS playoffs, and I think we would get 2nd seed, probably. I think DFM would get 2nd seed over them. But the problem is now, people are going to lead this conversation and say, oh, well, it's a chance for them to show up and PCS and kind of show blah, 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 and stuff like this. The problem is they now have to do that with even less finances, and I think that's going to get skipped over. You can see how OS has basically disappeared from the international radar, which is so fucking sad. They are a region with so much history, and I really hope that LJL won't do the same now that financial pressure will really be put on these teams. So that's my worries, that's my expectations. Folks, I might put this up on YouTube in some form or other, because this is a pretty long conversation. So let me know if you'd be interested in watching that through on there as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, thanks, Hina, for joining me. It was really good to get your perspective on things and the extra information.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will watch your video at some point too. And I'm probably going to head off.
I have to edit it first, but...
True, yeah. Okay, see you in a bit. Bye.
Bye-bye.